Superhero games and movies are a dime a dozen, and I'm sure we're all aware that these can be great when done right and absolutely horrendous when not managed properly. Video games in particular would seem difficult to me, as the game's creators need to find some way to make us actually feel like the superhero. Now, Batman is one of the most popular supers out there, and the Arkham series is a pretty popular one of the game series that has him in it. But of course, you saw the thumbnail and you know I've never played Arkham Asylum, and, well, any of the Arkham games for that matter. But this is the first of the series, so it seems like the best place to start, so here we go. We get started and the game plays a short cutscene before you're placed into what I guess I'll dub a movie cutscene, where my movement is quite restricted and dialogue is shared as Joker is wheeled into Arkham Asylum, but the fearless Caped Crusader thinks that something is up, and of course, something's up. This is the Joker. When does he ever go to prison and something isn't up in these stories? The Bat has to hand the Joker off because he's not allowed past a certain point, and what do you know, Joker escapes, but this has to be chalked up to some terrible protocols. You're bringing the Joker, one of the most dangerous men in Gotham, to prison, and you have a single guard and a doctor? Until he's in a cell, why are there not more people around him? This whole crisis could have been avoided. But whatever. Apparently, Harley Quinn's already got control of the control center or whatever, so let's just roll with it. And I guess I should also mention at this point that this video will be a little bit different than some others that I have done. We're going to go through the whole experience because, well, it's a rather short one. So I'm just going to bring you through everything that happened. We'll talk a little bit about the different mechanics that are in the game along the way. Now, being the big Batman that I am, I rush in to stop the Joker, and here we're introduced to the first combat portion of the game. And, oh, it's one of these? By that, I mean, you don't have a move set, really. You pretty much just press 2 buttons on the mouse and Batman handles the rest. I have only ever played one other game like this, Shadow of Mordor, and I still don't know how I feel about it. I ended up enjoying Shadow of Mordor, and the combat didn't bother me after a while and was still reasonably interesting. When first using it, I get this feeling that there's no way any fight could actually be difficult, but Shadow of Mordor proved me wrong, so we'll see if this one does so as well. Now that the games have begun, I begin the pursuit, but have already run into the most terrifying thing in the game, and it's this guard right here. What is going on with his face? Is this Scarecrow? Because you're the living incarnation of my every nightmare. But before I can deal with that nightmare, I have to take care of a hostage situation, so of course I turn on detective mode. Oh, is this how real detectives do it? Dang, how'd they unlock this ability in real life? With this newfound power, I'm able to see points of interest much more clearly, and I am so very thankful for detective vision. It even gives you details you don't necessarily need, like the heart rate of NPCs, whether dead or alive, which is a nice touch. Navigating this room also introduces me to vents, though being a little sussy boy that I am, I start spending way too much time in these things as I go around the game. I guess it's not a whole lot of time in reality, but enough to be noticeable where you're crawling through vents quite a lot. Don't worry, I'm not the imposter. Also, who made these vents large enough for a full-grown muscular man to crawl through them? Isn't that a prisoner escape hazard or something? I also come across my first Riddler trophy. The guy isn't even in the prison as far as I can tell, but he found a way to weasel himself into the narrative. Further down, and the Joker's just hanging around and unleashes his friend Quasimodo, though he looks like he's hit the gym since I last saw him. I actually don't know if there is a way you're supposed to win this fight. I didn't learn how to take these guys down until later, but I guess it doesn't matter because he died all on his own and then Joker got away. Oh hey, that's from a song, isn't it? While following him, I am introduced to Oracle.
Joker's escaped. He sealed himself off. He's got your father.
Dad!
This annoying son of a gun, I'm pretty sure, is no less than a disguise for a loading screen. I can at least appreciate it if that's the case, but she's no more than a minor addition to the narrative, and the game forces me to bat walk whenever I'm talking with her, which was a little annoying sometimes, but it's a really minor thing. It also turns out my detective vision can pick up traces of alcohol in the air. Okay, game? Whatever you say. Along the path are some armed guards, and now things are getting a little more interesting. I am the Batman after all, so I whip out my submachine gun. No. So I grapple onto these gargoyles that this prison put all over the place inside of the prison, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody put gargoyles on the inside of any buildings, but okay. What is with this architecture here? But these let me get around the gun guys, and the first time I approached them, I was a bit too trigger happy and went right for a punch and missed the new button prompt altogether. Well, that's my first death. Bit sad, Batman. Bit sad. But now I know how to do a silent takedown, or whatever this is called. The next room put this knowledge to the test by forcing me to take down several armed enemies in a large room. This may be a minor escalation, but it definitely is a bit more intriguing, and I get to do some sneaking around, which is nice. The stealth system in this game is also quite generous, and although it was occasionally a bit too generous, I thought it was appropriate given what the game is. Now let's say hello to the island surface and greet some of the locals. Oh, wait a minute, that's my Batmobile. Guys, the car is worth more than all of your lives combined. Of course I'm kicking your teeth in. I guess I should also mention that fights always end with this sort of slow-mo thing, and it sucked and was nice at the same time. It sucked because it slowed things down and always looked weird, but nice because it was a clear indicator that all the goons were defeated and the fight was over. You could move on now. Inside the Batmobile is an explosive spray thingy, and after following nicotine with my detective vision, I tried to punch a wall down with my fist before figuring out I needed to use the explosives I had just procured. Oh, way to keep up with that branding, Batman. Now, blowing up the wall brought me to the area where I'm supposed to get into this building, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how for the longest time. I was basically just roaming around forever with detective vision, trying to find something, until at last I stumbled upon the spot I was supposed to explode. Inside, I have to take down more armed guards and free the doctors before being sent on a 3-part mission to free 3 more doctors. That was weird. The first one I find is locked in a room, but there is a wall I can explode. So, of course, I rigged explosives and...
She's dead!
Oh, my bad. There is another wall, and I had to explode it at the same time. Oops. In the second one, I had to clear a bunch of gas, but the real struggle was figuring out how to get out of the room after I had done that. On the way back, though, there was a Joker present blocking my way. There's been a few of these, but I didn't feel like mentioning them because they always amounted to nothing. One time there was an enemy hiding inside one, but every other time nothing happened, so I don't think the secret box really works when you don't do anything with it, Joker. Bringing the last guy is super easy because all you do is punch a bunch of dudes. The doctors are free now and sent off to who knows where as a few guys break in, and I deal with them with perfect stealth like any good Batman would. But now it's time to get to our first boss, but before I can do that, I come across a deceased Commissioner Gordon. Oh, so the boss is Scarecrow, isn't it? Don't pretend, game. I know you ain't killing Gordon. I must say though, the path brings me to the morgue, and this was genuinely my favorite part of the game. Great atmosphere and anticipation, very freaky. Only problem is that I ruined it because for a long time, I refused to leave the room, despite all the voices yelling at me to because I was like, aha, I'll outsmart the game. You're telling me to leave, but really, you want me to stay. No, it wants me to leave. So I do, and jump scare. And oh, wow, I really like what you guys have done to this place. Seriously though, this was pretty cool too, but then I got to the actual fight portion, though I don't know if I could even call it a fight, and it was quite a letdown. I didn't get a real interesting fight that the lead up kind of promised. Instead, I played peekaboo with some shirtless guy with needles for fingers. Oh yeah, and Gordon is alive. Outside is when I'm pretty sure I was first introduced to the new enemy type that uses knives. I can't really attack them head on, and pretty much just have to use a stun attack, which I should have been using against all the other enemies as well, but I didn't. Either way, the addition of this knife variant made things a little more interesting. One stealth mission later, and Harley is out for the count, and Gordon is free, but there's a mysterious cage where Bane is just chilling. Shock of all shocks, Joker frees him with the press of a button, and I'm thrust into my second boss fight. He's a pretty simple boss though. Just throw a batarang when he runs, dodge, punch him a few times, and then sever his connection with the green Kool-Aid. The only thing that makes this much of a fight is the piles of goons that are thrown at you getting in your way. That's not a complaint, by the way. It was a fine fight, but just not a whole lot going on. With Bane down, I head to the Bat Cave, because of course one of those is on this island. I'm Batman. Here I acquire a grapple of some sorts, which lets me get into vents, but from a distance this time. It does do more than that, but that's really its main function. On my way to the next objective, I'm also introduced to snipers, which really are making things difficult, and I run into the most disturbing part of the game. This is brutal. I make my way to the objective, pulling more vents down. See? What'd I tell ya? And I'm introduced to Joker callers, which will alert enemies if one of their allies have been taken down. Let's use this knowledge to carefully deal with the next situation.
What?
I honestly don't know what I was doing there. I guess I only saw the one guy and for some reason I assumed he was the only one around. Anyways, this color thing really mixed up the stealth aspect of the game, since now the guards will move to the location of their fallen comrades. It forced me to think a little more carefully about who I took down and where, and of course this upped the difficulty a bit, which is just welcome. I traveled for a bit to some place so I could yank down another vent and break into this doctor's office. Something about serums and Joker making a super army? I don't know, I'm too busy punching guys.
Jeez! Don't let him hit you!
As would turn out, Joker has captured someone. Honestly, no idea if the officer belongs to them, but I guess I should save them, right? And the only way I can think of doing that is by dropping a chandelier mere feet from the victims' heads. Perfect idea. I burned some piece of paper which has instructions on how to make the venom toxin. I think it's venom or whatever it is. So now I win. Or wait, no we don't. The game isn't over and Scarecrow is my enemy once again. And once again, I love the lead up to the battle, but not the battle itself. The lead up is another telling of Batman's origin, which at this point everybody has heard and seen a million times, but perhaps when this was first released, it was a little more novel, I don't know. Scarecrow's down, I drop a bell, and the doctor I was searching for explodes.
Oh my god!
Get out of the way!
Oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. Someone actually just died on screen. But more importantly, the game throws a new enemy type my way. This one has a taser and I absolutely cannot attack him from the front, but have to jump over him and punch him in the back. I must applaud this game for introducing the player to the enemy types in a very simple setting before thrusting you into a much more complicated battle, though I guess maybe that's just basic game design. Either way, the greater the variety of enemies you get, the harder the battle is to navigate. Off we go, following the DNA trail left behind by the Joker's newest captive. Wait, how am I following literal DNA? Are those bloodstains? Do I need the superpower that is detective vision just to see bloodstains? I think the bat is losing his touch. I meet Poison Ivy and she's freed 5 seconds later, but I freed the warden and he gives me a new ability. That's nice. Now I can destroy pesky gates that have been in my way this whole time. On my way out though, I saw the warden again, but behind this wall. And he says I freed the wrong warden. Wait, what? I'm pretty sure I was just given a proper story beat. No way, I freed the wrong guy, right? I tried to free this new person for a hot second, but next time I looked inside the cage, it was Gordon now. Gordon, how'd you get in there? Oh wait, no, he's probably a shapeshifter. Who is this guy? I don't remember any shapeshifters amongst Batman's rogues gallery. Have I forgotten someone? Who's in that cage? Just outside, it's Harley Quinn again, and she comes in like a wrecking ball by not participating in the fight at all. She does escape though, and I break every door in sight because I just hate doors that much. When I found where I was supposed to be, I got to breaking more of these things, but instead of opening doors, it stopped the flow of electric stuff, thus saving the guards. Yippee for me, saving people. There's also a new enemy variant, the Maniac, as I call them, and they suck. You punch them once, and then you do the finishing move, and they're down. They're just boring and annoying. But now is the time for the final Harley Quinn boss fight, and it was alright. It was basically just a wave battle, but the floor would turn all electric here and there, more or less putting the 3 areas on a timer before you start taking damage. Although the first time this happened, I couldn't actually figure out how to vault onto the next platform since it looked too high to me, and he wouldn't go up there the first time, so I just absorbed the damage like a man. This battle also taught me that enemies would actually pick up weapons they or their friends dropped, and that made these battles a lot more interesting. Now I don't just juggle weapon types, but also have to keep an eye out for the bozos reaching for the gun on the ground. Harley does jump out once the goons are taken care of and reveals why she hasn't been participating in the fights this whole time. Next up is the garden, where a Joker collar segment took me more tries than any other and actually made me a little frustrated. There's also a new version of the whatchamacallits that I have to hack, but this one is on a timer and requires me to solve the same puzzle 3 separate times. But the greatest puzzle of all is remembering A and D are not the only controls needed for this thing, but so are left and right click. Yes, I forgot half of the controls and didn't look in the, text box that says, hey, this is how you do it. There's also a segment after this that is the most truly stealth because you can't be seen, period, until you've taken out the guy in the control room. This is the only segment that does this, and it's too bad, but I also don't miss it. It was an interesting change of pace, but I like putting my adversary 6 feet under, knocking them out like the superhero that I am. I genuinely got lost after beating this part though, because I followed the same trail I took to get there. I actually had to Google where to go next. This might not have been a problem if I hadn't taken a day's break from the game in between completing the stealth mission and pulling the panel I needed, but it was definitely quite frustrating being so lost. Even so, it's almost entirely my fault. As much as I'd like to blame the game, I guess this one rests on my shoulders. Joker's on the other side of the wall, and so are some vats of venom and 2 wannabe Banes. One Bane was enough for me, really. These guys aren't all that interesting to fight, and adding another one didn't really improve matters. Riding one of them and making him punch his friend was kinda cool, and finishing animation was one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time, but yeah, I'd be fine not fighting another one of these dudes. After that, Santa Claus stops by and gives me another new toy that can help me get over a pit or 2. This allows me to get to Ivy, who I don't immediately pulverize and put back in a cell. Batman, are you even doing your job? Oh well, ever wondered what it'd be like to zip line straight into someone's spinal column? Oh, well, I guess that was their skulls, but spinal column sounds funnier. Outside, Ivy has gotten busy redecorating. See, Batman? This wouldn't have happened if you just took her out when you can. It wouldn't have taken that long. This oversight has also resulted in these plants growing that shoot homing projectiles, and I genuinely have no idea how to deal with these. 90% of the time, I just took the hits. But the plants aren't my only problem because I need to make a cure for the venom that Joker is going to let loose in the water supply, I think. But not only that, I upgrade my claw to the Ultra variant, and this lets me not just pull vents from a distance, but also walls, yeah. Now to stop the Joker, I think I was defusing bombs or something, but I can't really remember. I just defused these things without even thinking about it and found myself in this suspiciously shaped arena-looking room. This was probably the hardest part of the entire game because there is a decent enemy variety, but mostly there's one big guy and then a metric ton of little dudes in this really small area, and they're all in the way of you beating up the big boy. In theory, none of these fights are all that difficult, but this one held me back a little longer than any of the others. One of the easiest fights, though, was Poison Ivy. Oh hey, remember when I said you should have knocked her out earlier? Well, this is why. The battle is pretty simple, though she did confuse me because her health bar sort of doubles up after draining it once, so I was perplexed by her still being, well, alive. This also felt an awful lot like Zelda Twilight of Princess with the first temple, the plant there. If you know, you know. We're just about at the end of the game now, which means there isn't a whole lot more that's introduced. More of the same old, really, but with an extra soldier or 2 here and there. There was a redo of the cutscene at the beginning of the game, but this time the roles are reversed, and it was kind of fun walking around as the Joker. Though at the end, you're put back into the imprisoned Batman's place, and the Joker aims this gun at you and shoots you, and apparently that killed me, and the game told me I could have dodged the attack. I didn't even know I had control, so did I do something wrong? Are you actually able to dodge? It brought me to the next stage of the game anyway, so whatever. This is the third fight with Scarecrow, and it's only slightly different than the other 2. though I do get quite the heavy dose at the end. But that's fine, yeah, sure, Batman, You chase Scarecrow, the real one, that is, into the sewers where I'm pretty sure he gets eaten by Killer Croc. Well, I didn't kill him, so I didn't break no code. This does, of course, mean Killer Croc is the next boss, and the whole fight amounted to nothing more than being forced to crouch all the time while Croc attempted to jump scare you over and over, but that doesn't work, buddy. I know you're coming. It was a pretty easy fight, but for the first half of it, I thought these platforms were the path to the actual fight, not the fight itself, and I missed the sacks of whatever hanging around, and I'm supposed to inspect them. The end of the fight also took me 3 tries because I kept pushing the wrong button to activate the explosives. But at last, we come to the long-awaited Joker fight, where my hype team is awaiting my arrival.
Yeah! Yeah! Let's go! Let's do it! Yeah! Yeah! Let's go! We're gonna win this, boys! We're gonna do it! Yeah! Yeah! Let's go!
There's a whole pre-boss fight battle or whatever. It's nothing special. What is special, though, is that Joker venoms up and I'm transported to the roof with a stationary roided Joker. I didn't cut the footage there. Not at all. That's exactly what happened as it happened. And, well, obviously, this is not what's supposed to happen. So I loaded the last checkpoint, which thankfully just played the proper cutscene and brought me right back into a properly working boss battle.
It won't kill you to smile!
And the boss battle was quite disappointing, really. I guess none of the boss fights in this game are particularly interesting, and that might be the greatest drawback of this combat system. There's only so much you can do when all you can do is attack and block. The whole fight is waves of goons coming after you while Joker poses for the camera. You grab him with a super bat claw, yank him down, punch him in the face, run away, and then do the whole thing over and over again. It's not the easiest fight in the world, but it's not hard. Once you take his health down to 0, a cutscene plays where Batman sprays explosive gel on his fist and delivers an explosive punch to Joker's jawline, and Batman is basically unfazed from having an explosion capable of destroying concrete walls igniting on his knuckles. But that's not the end for our fearless Caped Crusader as he rushes off to deal with some more crime that night. So, was this game any good? Yeah, sure. I'd probably give it a 6.5 out of 10, which might sound low to a lot of people, but 6 to me is a game that's worth playing at least once. Especially a shorter one like Arkham Asylum. Pretty sure the full run didn't take more than 10 hours, and if you're the completionist type, then you could go after a bunch of the Riddler trophies that I never really bothered with. Plenty were genuinely child's play to get, but others required a little brain power. Part of me didn't get the hype as I was playing the game, and between the second or third or fourth hours of playing, I was genuinely looking forward to the end because I was quite bored. But it did pick up and got more interesting as things went along by introducing new mechanics or adding more factors to keep in mind while in combat. The first hour or so is fine, but it got stale really quick, so if they hadn't kept changing the formula like they did, this would have been a real slog to get through. This is also a game from 2009, and I realized I should keep that in mind when looking at older games that are popular and, for all I know, were actually revolutionary, unique, or interesting for their time. However, I like reviewing games without taking extraneous factors into account, including their history and when they were published. I don't care how small a dev team you have or how old the game is. Those facts can help contextualize the reason for the state of a game. But in the end, all I care about is whether or not it's fun to play now. Especially for those who won't have a heavy hit of nostalgia helping along their enjoyment of the game. And I would have to say, this was definitely worth a run, and I could see myself even playing it again in the future. Although I'm really good at getting lost while walking down a straight hallway, it's straightforward and a short game that I enjoyed in little chunks here and there, though I'm sure some people can clear this whole thing in one sitting on their day off. But there are 2 more Arkham games out there. Should I try those out as well? Let me know, and if you think of any other games I should try, feel free to tell me that as well.